The next thing to know about Microsoft Excel is that Microsoft Excel comes in many different versions. So over time, Microsoft has released many different versions of Excel. You can see all of the different versions of Microsoft Excel by going to this link right here, versions of MS Excel, in our course outline, or at a web browser. You could just Google Microsoft Office Versions Wiki. If you add that wiki at the end, it brings up the link to Wikipedia. So here's Microsoft Office, Wikipedia, and if I click on that, it has version history all the way down here, and then timeline of releases. So I'm going to click on that, and right here, table of Microsoft Office versions. I'm going to click on show right here, and it gives me a table of Microsoft Office versions. So Microsoft Excel is part of a larger suite of software known as Microsoft Office. And here's the 2016 version. So there's Microsoft Office 2016, and Microsoft Excel, which is part of that, is known as Microsoft Excel 2016. The version previous to that is 2013, previous to that is 2010, and then 7, and then 3, and then XP, and 2000, and 97, and 95, and 4X, and 3X, and then we have Mac versions all the way back here. And it tells you how long this version is going to last. So it's going to go mainstream up until October 13th, 2020. And if you have an extended license, which probably means you work for some organization which isn't staying up to speed, you could use it through October 14th, 2025. So that's how long Office version 2016 will be around. All right, so that's how you find out what different versions of Microsoft Office are out there. Microsoft Office is a suite of software where they've bundled together a bunch of different pieces of software. So Microsoft Office includes Microsoft Excel 2013, as well as like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and other pieces of software. So these are the different versions, and we're using in this course the most current version, which is Microsoft Excel 2016, part of Microsoft Office 2016. How do you tell which version you have? You go down, if you're on Windows, you go down and you start Microsoft Excel. So I'm just going to go down here to my Windows little Finder tab, put in Excel right there, and you can see I have Excel 2016. If you're on a Mac, it'll be slightly different. You could bring up Spotlight, to bring up Spotlight, you hold down Command Spacebar, and then you type in Excel, and it'll be just like this, a little search area, which will bring up the software. You could then launch the software, and in here, I could launch a blank workbook by clicking on that, this blank workbook. And then once I'm in here, and this is one of my goals for the course, is to teach you how to figure out stuff. So in here, if I wanted to find information about version and I didn't know where to go, I could come over to this tell me what you want to do, and I could type in version. And when I type in version, it says get help on version, about Office, what version of Office am I using? So I click on that, and it brings up over here. Choose File in the top left corner, and then select either Account or Help from the list on the left. So if I go over to File and choose Account from the list on the left, it tells me I'm using Microsoft Office Professional Plus 2016, and then I could click About Excel, and it says I have Microsoft Excel 2016 and 32-bit, right? Interesting, I'm running 32-bit because this is a 64-bit machine, which is a whole other thing to explore. Just FYI, if you want to see it, I'll show you at the end of this video how to find out if you're 32-bit or 64-bit machine. All right, so that's how you find out what version of Microsoft Excel you're running. And if you're using a different version of Microsoft Excel, that is fine, because the principles taught in this course are going to be timeless. They're going to show you how to do things in Excel regardless of the version. The implementation of some of those details might be slightly different between versions. For instance, under data here, under the data ribbon, you saw me hitting refresh in the previous video. That might be in a slightly different area, or you might need to come up here and say, hey, how do I refresh, right, something and find where is that in my version? But the similarities between the versions, they're pretty similar. So if you have something other than 2016, you should be just fine going through this course, aside from having to figure out a few slight differences. Because we're going to be looking at principles. How do you do things in Excel? What are the principles behind it, working with Excel? All right, so that's That's how you find out. It's a little bit of information about the versions of Microsoft Office and Excel and how you find out which version you're using. And if you're using a different version, you're going to be fine so long as you can figure out the slight differences between the version. They shouldn't be too significant. Okay, so here's bonus material. We're going to stop talking about Microsoft Excel for a second. We're done with Excel for this video. Bonus material in this video right now. If you only want to see Excel stuff, you could stop watching this video. I'm not going to talk about Excel anymore in this video, and you could go to the next video. But what I am going to show you right now is how do you find out if your machine is 32-bit or 64-bit. So you saw when I went to Account and went to About Excel, it told me I'm running 32-bit version. That tells me how many zeros and ones my computer can process at one time. It's using 32 bits at a time. If I want to know if my machine does 32 or 64 or both, I click on Explore. So I bring up Windows Explorer so I could get there by clicking on the folder icon, or I could right-click the Start button and choose File Explorer. It brings up File Explorer, and then I'm going to right-click on my computer, which is Desktop, Documents, Desktop, Storage, Home Group. Just looking for my computer. This PC right there. Right-click on this PC, choose Properties. And right here, it tells me I have a 64-bit operating system. So if I have a 64-bit operating system, my computer can process 64 zeros and ones at one time, and it could run either 64-bit software or 32-bit software. So I'm running 32-bit software, which is fine, but if I had the opportunity to upgrade to 64-bit software, my computer would process it a little bit more quickly. So that tells me if my computer runs 64 or 32, and if it's running 64, I could do 64 or 32-bit software. So just a little bit of extra information. And if you don't understand that, that's okay. I'm just giving a little more information because the more you're exposed to things over time, the more they're going to start to make sense. And for those of you who that does make sense, great. And if that was like, huh, for you, no big deal. No big deal. The main takeaways from this video are just understanding the different versions of Microsoft Office and, since Excel is part of Office, Microsoft Excel, and finding out which version you're using, and also knowing that if you're in a version other than 2016, this course will still serve you well because the principles, the fundamentals are the same between the different versions, and the slight differences, you should be able to easily figure them out. All right, great. I will see you in the next video.